Basement, a weekly show about film news and film reviews. I'm Brandon Gasparino.
And I'm Edward Webb.
And this week we're going to start off with a review of the movie Joker. So Joaquin Phoenix plays Arthur Fleck, a mentally unwell man in his 30s who struggles to provide for himself and his sick mother as a clown for hire. Things start to look up for him as he pursues a career in comedy and a meaningful relationship. However, this all begins to fall apart after he finds out both himself and the world around him wasn't what he thought it was. So, I'm going to start this off by saying I really love this movie. However, I will say that it started out very slow. It took a very long time to kick up. I would almost say like the first 45 to 50 minutes of the movie was just like, it just felt like it wasn't really going anywhere. We kept doing the same things over and over again. Arthur keeps getting beat up by the people around him. The world's kind of like down on Arthur. Nothing's going right for him. And like things in the plot aren't adding up. Like it all seemed very weird to me until we got towards the middle of the movie and there was kind of a reveal of some kind of information. It's like almost like a thread that leads to more and more info. And I think from that point on, it starts to get really good. Like we're getting exactly what I came at least to see the movie for, which is to watch a man become the Joker. Arthur Fleck who he's not normal, but like he's not a psychotic crazy person. From him to go from that to I'm the Joker now, and I'm going to go insane and kill a bunch of people. And I think that is a very interesting transformation to watch. And once I got to that part of the film, I was completely on board with it. I thought it worked really well after that. Everything kind of unraveling around him. I mean, everything about them, it looked like a really good movie. Like the cinematography was very on point. The score was really good. For me, at least, it really kind of all added up together. I will say one of my kind of problems with the movie, and this is coming towards the end of the film, we get another Batman origin story, and I don't think I need another Batman origin story in this. I actually felt like it kind of detracted from the overall film itself, because it's not about Batman. It's about the Joker. It's about Arthur Fleck kind of losing it all and becoming this absolute crazy icon that we all know and, to a degree, love. So, I mean, besides that, I will say that I was a little upset with, like, the controversy around this film about how, like, a group of people were going to come in and try to repeat the Aurora shootings and all that stuff. I wasn't a particular fan of that, and I feel like that's a different topic, but what did you think?
It's very sad. It's just tragic, especially for us film lovers, but just people in general. The theater should be a place where you just go, lay back, forget things, and just be engrossed by this film. You shouldn't have to look over your shoulder every second.
Yeah.
Or be ready to run as you see somebody walk into a theater. So
and
it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, and even though I didn't feel like that, I knew that wasn't going to happen. But even going to those theaters, I felt like this could be me. This could be something that happens to me, and it's just not great. However, besides that, I would definitely recommend seeing this movie. I thought it was. Once you get past like the very slow start of the film, I would say it's totally worth it. It's a wild ride from that point on until the absolute ending of the film.
Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it to like if you're going to see a movie by yourself, or if you're going to see a movie with like a group of people who are like all about film and stuff. Watch that movie. Don't bring your children to see this movie. Don't go to this movie on a date. Both things happened to me in the theater I went to. I had a couple sitting next to me. I think this was like a first date or something. And I had a family in front of me with 2 3-year-olds. Don't do that. You're being a bad parent if you bring your kids to see this movie because it is hardcore. There are certain parts of it.
Brought me to stuff like this all the time. I turned out fine.
I've been through some rough stuff. You do not. I was a little fazed by some of the stuff that happened in this film. So do not bring your kids to see this movie. Speaking of movies that are acceptable for kids to see, Eddie, you saw Rashomon this weekend.
I never heard Rashomon be considered a film that's acceptable for children. But yes, I unfortunately wasn't able to see Joker this week, so I decided to go a little further back in the film, and I saw Rashomon. Rashomon tells the story of a assault on a bride and the murder of her husband, as is retold by all parties involved, including the murderer, the bride herself, and the ghost of her samurai husband, as well as a woodcutter who wasn't really there. But it's nice to just have people chime in on what they think happened. So I've been meaning to plunge into Kurosawa's filmography for a very long time before this. I've seen two of his films prior, and this is the first one where I feel like I really got why Kurosawa is considered to be, a master of this art form. I wasn't the biggest fan of it when I first saw it, but as I slept on it and thought about it, I loved it. every reason why I didn't like it is why I love it now. The reason why I didn't like it was it felt very messy and sloppy until I realized that that's what was supposed to happen. The film is told in 4 different accounts of the same event. Everybody chimes in on different things that they remember happening. And I just felt that was sloppiness, when really it's just very calculated, because that's how these things are. It's sort of like a game of telephone where you hear one story from one person, by the time it gets to the last person, it's nothing that originally happened. So yes, I would definitely recommend this film, especially for the film buffs out there who want to go back and actually learn more about the art form that we all love.
Yeah, actually, I had read the original source material for Rashomon a couple of years back for a class or whatever, and it's interesting how well Akira Kurosawa's version of it holds up to the actual original source material. He did a really good job of taking the best elements of that medium, and translating that into film, which I think is the uncertainty of everything that's happening. We get a visual representation of each person's account. And I almost think that makes it harder for you to figure out who's telling the truth in this situation, because these all seem like they could have happened. I'm literally getting a visualization of everything that's going on in front of me.
That's the frustrating part of it, because you're expecting to find the actual answer, and you never do.
And that's kind of what it's about. There is, if you're going based off of eyewitnesses' accounts, you're really not going to get the full story unless you were there. And even then, that's your own truth. That's all you're going to find out about this. And I think it does a really good job of that. Giving you that exact possible message. Speaking of good messages in film, Eddie, you had a story about Diahann Carroll this week, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, sadly I had the job of breaking the news that Diahann Carroll has passed away. Diahann Carroll was a Academy Award nominated actress for her film Claudine in 1968, as well as being the first black woman to win a Tony Award for her performance in No Strings, the Broadway play. But a lot of people remember her as the first black woman to star in a TV series where she does not play a stereotypical role. For a while, minorities weren't necessarily cast in roles that weren't servants or, welfare, or people that relied on welfare. But her role as Julia Baker in Julia showed her as a very strong, independent mother who works as a nurse trying to provide for her son. And a lot of people haven't seen that before. She was actually nominated for a Golden Globe for her performance. And it showed that we could play more than just these one-dimensional characters, even though some people such as Hattie McDaniels even won an Academy Award for playing that in Gone with the Wind. It showed that we are capable and our stories do deserve to be told. And I just thought this was a very timely story, not only because she sadly passed away, but also as the argument for diversity in film and television still rages on today.
Yeah, I should actually be kind of upfront about this. I didn't really know who she was before we started doing the story. I think that kind of speaks to part of the problem of this, is that people don't know who these trailblazers are. There was a story I was reading actually this weekend about, I don't remember the guy's name, unfortunately. It was a famous newscaster or something like that. And basically, he was the first openly gay news person in any kind of media or anything like that. He had basically a really rough time with that, because that is a lot to handle in the late 70s and 80s. But nobody remembers him today. Nobody remembers who he was, what he did, anything like that. And I think that's kind of the problem with representation nowadays. We don't know who the trailblazers are for all this stuff.
Yeah, it's very sad. It's sort of like we're missing out on a part of history. Without we definitely had to find out the name of that man, but without him, we don't have an Anderson Cooper who was able to flourish in that spot.
Exactly. It's just important to have these people and know who they are, because they're doing a lot of people a service, a very good service that they should be remembered for, and that they shouldn't be forgotten in the annals of history.
Yeah, it's always nice to give people their flowers while they can still smell them.
Yeah, especially. Even though we actually did a little bit of research. I did a little bit after I found out this was going to be a story we were doing today. I saw she's had a very impressive filmography.
Very. Spanning many, many decades.
Yeah, what are some of the movies she was in again?
See, we have Claudine, where she received the Academy Award nomination. Carmen Jones, where she received the Golden Globe nomination. Eve's Bayou, which is such a very underrated film from the 90s that if you grew up watching BET, like I have, you've probably seen it about 20 times. She was in The Five Heartbeats, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's a Robert Townsend film about, it's sort of a mock band of a lot of older soul groups like the OJs or the Four Tops. She has an amazing role in that. And I think her most recent role was in the Tyler Perry movie, The Peoples, which we're not going to talk about.
Well, I'm happy that she had such a long career. She lived to such an old age and was able to really make something for herself. In other news this week, so we had a couple trailers drop that we wanted to talk about. I was actually going to talk about the Birds of Prey trailer. So, the film stars Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, and Janice Smollett-Bell as Black Canary. The film's directed by Kathy Yan. So, Eddie, we both have very different points of view on this film. What did you think?
This trailer was amazing. This trailer was amazing. It reminded me a lot of the original Suicide Squad trailers, which made me so excited to see the film. It even made me buy into Jared Leto playing the Joker, which I'll go on a limb and say that I thought he did a slightly above average job. But yes, this trailer is everything I wanted in a Harley Quinn movie. It's colorful, it looks fun, it looks dangerous. That wasn't really a good word I was thinking of. But it looks colorful, it looks fun. Margot Robbie did an amazing job as Harley Quinn. She's probably one of the only shining lights in the Suicide trailer. I mean, in the Suicide Squad. Any thoughts from you?
So I'm in the exact opposite boat. This feels almost exactly like the Suicide Squad. Oh my God, the Suicide Squad trailer, like you were saying. It feels like we're trying to be tricked again into thinking that this is going to be a fun movie with a lot of personality and cool things happening in it. When in reality, it's going to probably be something that's really boring, just nothing to it. It's just a nothing boring film that DC's trying to push, and it's going to make $10 billion, and that nobody will care in like 10 years that this film came out.
Like if their job was to trick me and then a job well done, I am tricked. I will not be there first week, but maybe second.
I mean, I can completely understand why people would be excited by this trailer. Like, admittedly, it's a good-looking trailer. I just don't trust DC to get a movie like this right. Even though they came out with a really good one this weekend, like, they've had way too many failures in the past for me to think this is going to be a really good movie that I want to see.
Well, my fingers are crossed.
No, I hope I'm pleasantly surprised. I kind of want DC to have like another win for once, like to them actually get on track and do something right. But it just doesn't seem like it's in the stars or whatever the phrase is for this. In addition to that, another trailer that dropped this week was 1917, and I actually had the exact opposite view on this one. So, the film's directed by Sam Mendes, who also directed Skyfall, and is about two messengers in World War I trying to get a message to Allied troops, ordering them to stop an attack that would end in slaughter. Earlier this week, there was also a behind-the-scenes featurette that dropped online. In the video, Sam Mendes reveals that the film is a one-shot movie. In other words, from beginning to end, it appears there are no cuts, and everything is done in real time. We should preface this by saying that there are actually cuts in the movie. They're just very well hidden, which has its own challenges and is hard in its own way, but definitely not as hard as doing the film in one whole shot. Eddie, what did you think of the trailer?
What did I think of the trailer? It looks fun. Maybe that's not what I should be using for a war movie, but it looks intense, although I'm not the biggest fan of the whole let's make it look like one shot thing, especially when it comes to war. I feel like maybe in a shorter film that it could work, but after a while, I feel like it just may wear out its presence. I felt that Birdman did it very well. Even the Hitchcock film Rope did it pretty well. Yeah. But those were sort of things that lent itself to the whole one-shot premise, as opposed to this, where I feel like it may benefit from a close-up, or it may benefit from different shots that they may not be able to accomplish by trying to keep up with this whole one-take idea.
See, I think for me at least, I think it'll do really well in a war setting, which first off, very difficult thing to do, but I think it'll work because it's building suspense throughout the whole movie. Like, it's kind of like in Birdman, how like, I heard some people were getting nervous watching the movie because like, it just never cut, and you were like, oh my God, it's still going. We're still doing this, huh? It's still going. Oh my God, how are they not screwing up? It's kind of going to be like that, where like people are just watching the movie being like, oh my God, the war's still happening. How are they still alive? Are these guys going to make it? Oh my God, we're still doing this, huh? And for me, I think that's going to work really well, because I think it's technically challenging, and the filmmaker in me is like, wow, I wish I could try and do that, because that seems absolutely amazing. Like the end goal of this is going to be very interesting for me to see. Because I'm kind of interested to see how they hide the cuts and all that. Like, what kind of tricks are they going to use to like make it so that way it seems like it's one whole shot when in reality it's many cuts.
Well, I'm the exact opposite of you. I would rather swallow a cup of glass than try to recreate anything like this.
Oh no, I'm not saying I would ever do this in a million years. This seems like a nightmare to film.
Yes, but I definitely do trust Sam Mendes to pull it off. He's definitely one of the more underrated directors, I think, even though he's made Skyfall and American Beauty and all these other great movies. I don't feel like he necessarily gets the credit that he deserves. And the cast looks amazing, so I definitely feel like there is a chance that this will be at least decent.
Yeah, no, definitely a star-studded cast. So I am very excited to see where this goes. It definitely has like that like Hollywood like. It definitely has that blockbuster power.
Yeah.
Speaking of blockbusters, one of a very well-known film director had some interesting comments about some of our blockbusters recently.
Yes, he did. Good old Marty Boy is back in our headlines with another controversial take. This week, his target is our Marvel films. Empire magazine asked his opinions on these Marvel films, to which he responded, honestly, the closest I can think of them, as well made as they are, with actors doing the best that they can under these circumstances, is theme parks. It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experience to another human being. A lot of filmmakers and actors involved in the MCU and DCU took an exception to these comments. Most notably, James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad reboot. I guess it's considered a reboot. In response, Gunn had to say, I was outraged when people picketed The Last Temptation of Christ without having seen the film. I'm saddened that he's now judging my films in the same way. He then added, that said, I will always love Scorsese and be grateful for his contributions to cinema and can't wait to see The Irishman.
Okay, so I get where he's coming from here. I'm not like the biggest fan of MCU or DCEU movies. Superhero movies just don't do it for me nowadays. Like it just seemed like literally I think it was in August of this year that I finally saw both Endgame and Infinity War in the same day. And I mean, I liked them.
In the same day?
Yeah, I watched them back to back because I was interested. I mean, I liked them. They were good movies, but it's not like it was like I really wouldn't go out of my way to watch these in theaters. At that same time, they're really well-made movies, and they deserve some kind of praise or review, especially from like someone who's like such a, oh my god, what is the word for it? Like a pillar of the film community. Like they're not bad movies. They definitely are. They're trying to say something, and they're trying to deliver a message while also being these entertaining vehicles of explosions, fighting, fun dialogue, and all that good stuff.
It's just so much to juggle, and for somebody like Scorsese to say that, it does sort of, it would definitely at least hurt my feelings, at the very least, knowing that, you know, he's sort of like the not the grandfather. He's not that old. Well, he is pretty old. He is this pillar of the film community, and to hear him say this, it would strike a nerve with me, especially as somebody who grew up loving his films. To see that he considers the things I put blood, sweat, and tears into to be a carnival ride would really sting.
Yeah.
And I would feel that he would be a little more sensitive to it, considering that he made a Netflix film, as Netflix films and movies of his kind are still fighting for, their reputation as real cinema.
Yeah, like I think we mentioned this last week, the Cannes Film Festival not accepting any Netflix or even streaming platform movies. They're not doing that, and it's like, it feels like all these old men who are like trying to distinguish between this is what high art and this is what garbage is, but they don't know what they're talking about because like they're too stuck in their ways to actually see that. Oh yeah, there's good things coming out of these films. Like these streaming platforms are doing a good job making movies, and Marvel can actually make something that's not a pile of garbage or an amusement park ride or something like that. So I think it's just people who need to really just reevaluate like what they think of as film, because it's changing and it's evolving to fit a more modern kind of viewpoint.
All right, so anything else?
Nothing on that movie. However, there are some upcoming movies we actually wanted to talk about. So this weekend there are a few new films coming out. We got Gemini Man, The Addams Family, and Jexy. So Eddie, are you excited for any of these movies?
Are you sure there's nothing else coming out besides these three? movie.
Eddie, what's coming out this weekend?
Oh God. If I had to pick one, you know what? I will go out on a limb here and say that I am not looking forward to the Addams Family movie, but I do think that it will be decent.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this overall. It's like the Addams Family movie is like, it seems okay. I think if you were to bring if you were a family and you bring your kids to see the Addams Family movie, it's not like it's the Emoji Movie or anything like that. Like, you're gonna get something out of it. It won't be complete garbage fire. That said, I'm not really looking forward to seeing it. Like, it doesn't seem good enough for me to go out of my way to actually watch it.
I think I'll be staying home this weekend.
Yeah. Besides Joker, I mean, there's not much happening. Gemini Man, I mean, I don't trust Will Smith at all. He doesn't know how to make a movie anymore.
I'm starting to lose trust in Ang Lee as well, which is very sad.
Yeah. Well, on that note, that's all we got for you guys this week. Thank you for coming to our basement again. I'm Brandon Gasparino.
And I'm Edward Webb.
And we hope you guys have a great week.